Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. As we speak now, there is political and social unrest in North Sudan, in Khartoum to be precise. The country is being plunged into political turmoil under the very watch of African leaders. In this video, I want to submit to you that the hypocrisy of the IGAD, Intergovernmental Development Authority of African Union Council, has been exposed in this war that is going on in Khartoum. What is happening started a few years ago when the Western powers initiated what they called Arab Spring, and they deluded the local citizens that if they kicked away their long-serving presidents, they would have peace and tranquility in their nations. It was in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Libya, and South Sudan. Most of those presidents in the nations that I've mentioned had stayed in what some people call had overstayed in power. And so the Western machinations came up and they engineered their ouster. People like Mama Gaddafi and Hosni Mubarak did not end well. Some of them were killed. But the question that I want to ask you today, after the ouster of those presidents, do we really have peace in North Sudan, in Tunisia, in Egypt, and in Libya? We don't have any peace. Now that we don't have peace, do we really conclude that the nations, the Western nations, which engineered the ouster of these presidents, what was their real motive? The other thing that is noticeable very conspicuously is that in these nations where there was an Arab Spring, most of them are very rich in oil. And so your guess is as good as mine. But I want us to go to what is happening in South Sudan and how it has exposed our President William Samoei Ruto, the IGAD, and the African Union. Let us just try and understand what is happening very fast. After the ouster of the former president of North Sudan, Omar al-Bashir, there had been tension and attempted coup here and there. This time around, we thought that we would experience peace in North Sudan, but there is no peace there. They created a council called Sudanese Transitional Sovereign Council. And this council was supposed to oversee some mechanisms so that they can go for a proper election. And it is headed by someone called General Abdel Fattah. But then there is tension between General Fattah and his deputy. His deputy is called Mohammed Hamdan. Mohammed Hamdan has got another military wing called the Rapid Support Forces, and is advocating for the Rapid Support Forces to be incorporated and integrated into the main military wing. And this has really caused a lot of tension. The IGAD has sometimes tried to maintain peace, but this peace only lasted for a few days, and on Saturday, war broke in full blast. As we speak, 60 people are dead. Several organizations are evacuating their people. I was reading that the World Food Program has already lost 2 of their employees, and they had to suspend any humanitarian exercise. So as this war is going on, we could see a situation where all the humanitarian exercises have been suspended because most of these organizations are becoming victims. Most of their employees are affected in the area. And so when this was going on, the fallacy that I found out are the leaders who are trying to initiate and maintain peace and tranquility in South Sudan, in North Sudan. I wanted to read very fast what is happening. It is written that Ruto makes 3 proposals to end Sudan crisis. And it goes on to say that President William Samoei Ruto on Sunday, April 16th, made 3 urgent proposals to end the civil unrest in Sudan that has so far claimed at least 60 lives. That speaking during a virtual meeting with heads of intergovernmental authority and development member states, President Ruto called for an immediate ceasefire. And this is what he said, that I suggest that as IGAD, we ask for an immediate cessation of hostilities between the combatants. The head of state suggested that the organization to act upon the concerns raised by the Rapid Support Forces, the paramilitary group. We need to provide mechanisms as IGAD and our partners to ensure that the issues of the integration of the RSF is resolved and within timelines. Now, this is President William Samoei Ruto suggesting on how we can initiate and maintain peace in Khartoum. And he's saying that the issues that were raised by the Rapid Support Forces should be taken into consideration and they should be implemented within timelines. I really support any initiative to bring peace in Khartoum, because whenever there is such civil war, women, children, and the ordinary citizens suffer most. They are killed and they are maimed, they are displaced. But I have a problem when you have a president whose bedroom is burning, and yet he is going to maintain peace in the neighborhood. Here in Kenya, the opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga has heightened political temperatures, and he says that during the last year's August polls, William Samoei Ruto robbed him of his victory. And that has led to mass actions and demonstrations in the country. It is only that Raila Amolo Odinga decided to uphold the rule of law. He's doing, together with his supporters, what is entrenched in the constitution. Otherwise, what was happening in Kenya and what has escalated in North Sudan is almost the same thing. Because if any group in Kenya would decide that they suspend the constitution and they want to act out of order, we would find ourselves in the very situation where North Sudan found itself. But now that William Ruto is suggesting that they initiate peace process in Khartoum, how did he handle the crisis that we were in Kenya? Number one, he unleashed the police force and brutality on peaceful demonstrators. And they targeted, his government targeted Raila's convoy. And even as we speak, I don't know what would have happened if Raila's car was not armored, because they targeted that vehicle with 10 bullets, each trying to aim at Raila and to kill him. If they had killed Raila Odinga, we would be in the same situation where Sudan is now. Yet he is there under the umbrella of the IGAD that they want to initiate peace. And this is the fallacy that I'm talking about. We have a president whose name has gone to The Hague, because Raila Amolo Odinga wrote a letter to The Hague, the ICC, International Court, International Criminal Court, indicting William Samoei Ruto and his government and the Inspector General of the Police, who is carrying out this police brutality. And is suggesting that William Ruto targeted journalists, targeted innocent and peaceful demonstrators, and targeted himself and his convoy. So we have a president whose name is featuring at the ICC, yet he is there trying to maintain peace. Can you give what you don't have? Can you give peace in a neighboring country when you don't have peace in your country? Because the same issues that they're dealing with are the same issues that we are dealing with. Now, if you don't believe in peaceful resolutions of issues, how then do you go and hypocritically suggest that you have a peaceful coexistence in a neighbor? When your sons and daughters are fighting in your country, you cannot go and help a neighbor whose children are fighting, yet you have not brought ceasefire to your country. And this is the kind of hypocrisy that I'm talking about. William Samoei Ruto must cleanse his house before he extends this olive branch to the neighborhood. Otherwise, it is the height of hypocrisy. The head of African Union Council, Honorable and Mr. Musa Faki, came to Kenya and called on what they have always done, that we're calling for a ceasefire, without looking at the root cause of the problem. Because when you don't look at the root cause of the problem, you can't have a permanent solution. You'll only have temporary solutions. Here in Kenya, Raila Amolo Odinga is saying that we simply open the server so that we can know who won the elections. But the African Union is very quiet on this. All they can say is that we stand very strongly with the legally elected government in power. They cannot look beyond what they call legality and say that if someone is raising serious questions, then why don't we just suggest or compel Ruto to open the server? That is period. Because if they don't do that, we will be meandering around a very simple problem that can easily be solved if we ask the right questions and faced the bull by its horns. Because the elephant in the room in Africa today, I can assure you that 90% of African leaders are in power because they rigged elections. So it is always scratch my back, I scratch your back. That is why they cannot stand firm and confront and condemn and oppose election rigging, because they themselves are victims of the perpetrated election interference. And this is why I'm saying that for them to pretend that they want peace in Sudan and even in the other regions, it is a fallacy. I was reading that the leaders who are leading this peacekeeping are number one, Salva Kiir of South Sudan. Then we have our own William Samoei Ruto. Then Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. By mentioning those leaders, you understand what I mean. In South Sudan, for example, Salva Kiir has been at war with his opponent, and people have been killed before. They try ceasefire, but they have their hardline stance. So if you tell me that it is Salva Kiir who is going to lead peace in the northern Sudan, I wonder, he doesn't believe in peace himself. And you take me to Museveni, and if you can recall every election cycle, how Museveni is dealing with his opponents, Kizza Besigye, the Bobby Wine. These are people who don't believe even in the human rights in the first place. They preside over human rights violation. How then do you take them to maintain peace when their own nations don't believe in peace in the first place? And this is why I'm saying that whether it is IGAD or African Union, it is full of fallacy. And it has really exposed, because I don't think that William Samoei Ruto, Yoweri Museveni, Salva Kiir can do anything tangible. They don't believe in justice. They don't believe in electoral justice. So for them to face the real issues that are going to be suggested between the two warring factions, what they will do is that they will take a stand, and they will stand by one of their own, and that will be it. And this is the reason why in most of the African nations there are attempted coups, because they've realized that Africa cannot stand firm. The other thing that the African Union is doing is that they have allowed themselves, they have been exposed, and they are being controlled by the Western machinations. They are the puppets now of the West. The African Union is never independent. They only implement that which the European Union and the Western powers want. And this is why I'm saying that it will not be very easy to acquire and maintain peace. This peace will never be achieved because we have leaders who are hypocrites. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why I'm saying that even as I pray for peace and tranquility in North Sudan and in all the regions in Africa where we experience human rights violation and civil war, Africa must decide to change. We must have a complete paradigm shift if we want to maintain real peace, if we want to have meetings that can achieve peace. We cannot do the same thing expecting a different result, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what to think, but that is my take.